We know the god of toxic masculinity, Mr. Producer, Andrew Tate. But who are the gods that display toxic masculinity? Well, mythologies from across the world have many, many contenders for this categorization. So let's count them down. At number 10, we have Thor, the Norse god of thunder. He is said to never back down from a fight, and rarely was anyone ever able to give him a challenge. He is usually described as an okay husband to Sif, but that's not all there is to his toxicity. He wields his hammer, Mjolnir, with whom he has slain countless men and giants, some who were deserving and many who were not, just to show off his strength and ego. Thor is also many times described as someone who drowns in alcohol and is trapped by his desire for mead and battle. At number 9, Ares. With the title of God of War, it's no wonder Ares made his way into this list. Ares is the Greek god of war with many atrocities to his name. His domain was constantly under war and famine, with people dropping like flies, while Ares rejoiced as war was something that brought him pleasure. Living under Ares' domain was the toughest thing a person could go through in ancient Greece. Ares did not care about the lives of those below him, and this is also depicted in the famous game series God of War. He even had a fair share of affairs, the most famous one being the one with Aphrodite when she was married to Hephaestus. Number 8. Loki, who is nowhere the funny trickster whose motives are a little off, as he is implied to be in recent iterations. Loki was through and through a menace to all those around him, with his only goal being the pleasure he achieved by harassing others. There are a lot of instances of Loki crossing the line, such as him cutting off Sif, Thor's wife's beautiful golden hair, just because he wanted to perform another mischief. He is also directly responsible for Baldur's death and commencing Ragnarok by giving Baldur's blind brother Hodor mistletoe arrows to kill Baldur. Number 7. Kronos. Kronos, the Titan, the father of the Olympians, the god of time, had many such other names. He was one of the most powerful beings out there. Kronos was the one who usurped and killed his father in history, and when he learned that his children would do the same to him, he ended up eating them all instead of parenting them right. Gaia, his wife, begged him not to eat his children, but Kronos did not listen. He was too drunk on power and fear, which led to his eventual downfall. Number 6. Apollo. Apollo does have some instances of toxicity to his name. He is considered to be the god of music, poetry, art, prophecy, truth, archery, healing, sun, and light. Basically, all things beautiful. He is usually depicted as singing beautifully with a lyre in his hand. But we all know men like these are the ones who end up being the most manipulative. Like his father and uncles, Apollo loved spreading his seed. He could be called a hardcore equal opportunity predator. A lot of Apollo's lovers are said to take desperate measures to escape his grasp, to the extent of killing themselves. Daphne, a nymph, asked her father to turn her into a tree. Another instance is of Leucades, one of Apollo's male lovers, who threw himself on a rock to kill himself because he didn't want to be forced to sleep with Apollo. Number 5. Seth. Seth is one of the worst gods in the Egyptian myths. Seth, or Set, was the god of the sky, and his brother Osiris was the ruler of all gods. He was very jealous by nature, and thus always envious of Osiris and his position. So he tricked Osiris into getting into a coffin and tossed the coffin into the river Nile, cementing his position as the ruler of gods in Egypt. Later on, Seth also cut off Osiris's dead body into smaller pieces and hid them throughout Egypt. Number 4. Tezcatlipoca. Tezcatlipoca is a god from Aztec mythology whose name means smoking mirror. He is the god of night and sorcery. He was the son of the original creator, and with that kind of lineage comes great power and ego. His brother, Quetzalcoatl, was a peaceful king, and they were always in opposition to one another. This rivalry led to Tezcatlipoca making Quetzalcoatl drunk and making him sleep with his own sister. He also introduced Quetzalcoatl to other vices, and when Quetzalcoatl was at his weakest, Tezcatlipoca showed him a mirror, making him leave the world in shame. Number 3. Indra. Indra is the king of all other gods and the ruler of heaven in Hindu mythology. He is associated with the sky, clouds, wind, lightning, and all other things holy. And if you think toxic acts can't be committed by someone so divine, you will be surprised. Indra was known among sages and other minor gods for ravishing their wives without consent. He would take the form of their husband, have his fun, and leave. Nothing would be more deplorable than that. Number 2. Poseidon. Poseidon is one of the three main Olympians and the god of the sea. As seen with other entries on this list, he was up to no good at all with all that power. He would continuously go out of his way to breed with mortal women and then would leave them after he was done. When a woman would not agree to go with him, he would not stop there and use force if necessary. Before we get to our top pick for the list, we have to make at least one honorable mention for the Greek god of the underworld, Hades. He was cast down to the underworld by his brothers Zeus and Poseidon, and he was not allowed to reach the surface. Even though he wasn't allowed to, Hades would still get out of the underworld at his leisure. On one such stroll, he saw Persephone and was so enticed by her beauty that he kidnapped her to the underworld and made her the queen. He did all this without Persephone's consent, and while it is not as bad as the other entries on the list, he still deserves an honorable mention for this. And number 1, Zeus. Yeah, this should come as no surprise to anyone. Zeus is considered the worst and most powerful of all Greek gods, and his deeds speak for themselves. He has done almost all of the things mentioned in this list earlier. He defeated and trapped his father in the underworld, cheated his brothers to become the king of Mount Olympus, cheated on his wife Hera an infinite number of times, and has a huge list of sons and daughters due to illicit affairs. He used force when he did not get his way with a woman, would treat the people who are below them as lowlives, killed men and women likewise when they didn't obey him, and many more. The acts committed by him would be the definition of toxic masculinity, and thus he takes the number 1 spot by a huge margin. Is it really a surprise that around half of this list is filled with Greek gods? The Greeks considered their gods to be filled with vices, just like humans, and portrayed them as such. But the gods from other mythologies are not really far behind with their toxic deeds. That is our list of some of the gods which are considered to be the most toxic masculine ones throughout history. How do you feel about this list? Do you agree or disagree? Or maybe we left out a god who is more heinous than all other gods on this list. Leave a comment down below to let us know. If you had fun watching the video, leave a like to help us grow and subscribe for more awesome videos. See you next time. Till then, stay mythically mad.